Good afternoon, everybody. We are gathered here today for the League of Women Voters, the Sharon Stoughton League of Women Voters, and the Stoughton Chamber of Commerce, which I'm a member. I'm going to try to stand for a minute or two, but I can't do that. We only have one microphone over here to spread around, so we're going to have to start over here, moving around, and we'll do what we can do. Before we started, I wanted to thank the folks who were on the committee that did this event. We have Terry Schneider from the Chamber of Commerce, Mary Lou Giordano, Sharon Fradkin, and also Robert Zoll from the League of Women Voters, and Cindy Pizarro as well from the Chamber. Robert Zoll is going to be our timekeeper today, and I just wanted to let everybody know what we're doing. Folks who are in non-competitive positions, they have no opponents, will be able to come up and speak for a couple minutes on their positions. We have Michael Barrett of the Redevelopment Authority and Howard Hanson, moderators. Is there anybody else here? Okay. And after that, we're going to begin the Selectmen's debate. There are 3 Selectmen candidates here. We have done a little card game to get the order, to make it fair. And again, when we do the debates, there'll be 90 seconds for the responses and 30 seconds for the rebuttals. 60-second closings. There will be no opening statements. We're going to save that. 2 minutes for the uncontested candidates. So that's the parameters we're going through today. And we'll have our first uncontested candidate come up right now. That will be Michael Barrett from the Redevelopment Authority. He has 2 minutes to introduce himself to you folks.
Good afternoon. As Mark said, my name is Michael Barrett, and I'd like to start by thanking the Chamber of Commerce and the League of Women Voters for sponsoring today's event. I'd also like to thank Mark for serving as the moderator and for all he's done over the years to keep us informed about the town of Stoughton. I'm not always sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but for many of us, Mark's columns have been a significant source of information, as well as a reminder of our responsibility to participate and to become a part of the solution here in town, part of the reason I'm here today. On that note, I'd also like to thank my fellow candidates for all they have done and what they're trying to do to improve life in Stoughton. I cannot say that I agree with every position that we're going to hear today, or that I've heard from them in the past, but I really do respect their willingness to put themselves into the line of fire and to expend what is often a significant amount of time, effort, and energy. Personally, I've lived in town for 29 years, but I'm somewhat new, a newcomer to the Stoughton politics. This is my first time running for office, although I have been a member of the Redevelopment Authority for the past year. I'm also a member of the Community Preservation Committee. In each case, I was appointed by the Board of Selectmen to fill vacancies on those boards. My professional background is largely in corporate finance, with a strong focus on the real estate development process for a large local retail company. I also have experience in process improvement, change management, and organizational design. I believe that each of these skills makes me a very good candidate for the Redevelopment Authority. As a town, we have a lot of work to do. Redevelopment of downtown, the South Coast Rail Project, the school system. I'm confident that as a member of the Redevelopment Authority, I can help us to move forward, particularly with regard to the downtown area. I'm asking for your vote on April 8th, for your continued support for myself and for all of the elected and appointed officials who work hard to make Stoughton a better place. As residents, we all have a responsibility and very much a vested interest in working together to make sure that these efforts succeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Very, very nice words you gave. Checks in the mail. Okay, our next speaker, and again we have a 2-minute limit, so we're ready to cut him off at 2 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, he can speak. Our moderator for life, Howard Hanson.
Oh. Am I coming close to the microphone? Actually, I'm going to say something that's rather interesting. I'm not really here to solicit your vote. I'm here to get you to vote and put more people into town meeting. You know, there's no sense of electing a moderator when we don't have a town meeting. It's a very unusual job. The responsibility of town meeting members in the town of Stoughton is a very serious proposition. Every person counts in town meeting, and think of this statistic. When you go to the polls, yes, that's the best thing you can do, and you worry about state offices. The state offices, you're one in like 300,000 people in an area taking a vote. That's 1x. You're in town meeting, you're one of 168 people. That is the significance of your vote. It's that vote that counts. I do have a flyer. There are almost, with the exception of precinct 4, there are vacancies not on the ballot to run for town meeting. There's an ad in the Penny Saver. I have copies of that ad. I wish you would take it up and see if you can get 12 people to vote for you, and you probably become a town meeting member. That's my conclusion. I think with my 22 plus years behind the gavel, I don't have to explain that. So I thank those people who have supported me through the years, and do show up, do try to run for town meeting.
Thank you, Howard. Just want to remind the candidates that the responses are 90 seconds, 30-second rebuttals, and 60-second closings. We're going to start right now. And again, we did a little lottery. And the order will be, you want to be called Spanky or David?
Probably Spanky, everybody knows me as Spanky, but either one doesn't matter mine.
Okay, well, Spanky Souza will be first, Joe McCrisky, and then John Angelino in the selection race. And when we do the closing statements, we're going to go reverse order, okay? That's the way we always do things here. So here's the first question. This is for Spanky, and they do have a microphone they can pass around, so that's good. I must ask you a school committee question. It wouldn't have made much sense. Do you support the new high school? If so, how do you think it should be paid for, and will you actively advocate for it?
Yes, I do. I support a new school, but I also concerned for the taxpayers. I think a debt exclusion would be much better to pay for it, but we're looking at more than just the high school, looking at all types of other facilities. And we have to be reasonable because it's a lot of money that we'd be paying out for a loan. So we have to listen to the people's voice and what the people want. But I do have two small children in the school system, and I can see a new school. I graduated from that school. But the biggest concern is we have to look finances, planning. We have to plan the money the right way so we can spend it the right way. We just not spend the money foolishly. Thank you.
Just pass it. Joe?
Thank you, Mark. I agree. I do agree with a new school. I think that the high school, when I was talking to my mother, joked that it hadn't changed since she was there. But let's face it, look, technology has changed, communication has changed. Science labs have been upgraded, but not to where we need them today. What I want to make sure, though, I would advocate for a new school. I believe that it's important to attracting young families to town that want to move here for the right reasons. We don't need more 40Bs. We need people that are coming here to live, to be a part of the community, make a difference. I would like to see as much information as possible about why we want a new building. We need to explain to the residents the science labs haven't been upgraded. We have no communications program, T1 lines that are lacking throughout the building. We've got to show the residents a reason, because this will go to a debt exclusion. We have to show the residents the reason we need a new school, not just keep saying that we need a new school. Because if we keep talking about we need a new building, we need a new building, I've said right along, if an old building makes a bad educational process, tear down Harvard. Okay, but Harvard has also worked their old 200-year-old buildings into their program, and they're built for the future. So we need to show the residents why we want what we want, what the benefit's going to be, and what the impact will be on a debt exclusion override. But I do think the time has come that we have to advocate as a town for a new school.
John?
Thank you, Mark. First, we've been invited into a process that will evaluate what we should be doing here, and they'll actually provide the MSBA, the Mass School Board Association, will advise us, I believe, with at least 3 proposals of what could be done. Now, that could be anywhere from new schools or renovations of the school, and we have to see where that process goes. Now, town meeting was wise enough to appropriate $1 million to do the study and go through the process that we need to go through to find out what the best avenue would be at the high school. So it's not necessarily a definite that we'll get a new school. It could be a major renovation. But in either case, I certainly advocate that we follow through the process. And I would be a strong advocate for getting that done with the school, because that is a big draw for people coming into town. It's a draw for businesses who would be here, because it does improve the town. And in my opinion, the only way to go is through a debt exclusion. And it's going to take a lot of education of the voters, because that's who has the final say on what's done, on how we will proceed with that.
Does anybody have any rebuttals with that? Okay. The next question is very related to that, actually. Similar. This one goes to Joe first, and then to John. Do you support the new $14 million addition to the Stoughton Public Library? If so, how do you think the $7 million cost should be paid for? And what will you actively advocate? Will you advocate for it actively?
Again, this is something I do believe strong in, and I've not been privy to some of the information that the current selectmen have been getting, but I'm being told that there's a possibility it would be funded through their budget each year. But again, you know, the residents with technology the way it is, and access to e-books and computers and the internet, I had said a long time ago that it's time that we regenerate the library, and that we make the library more than just a place to borrow books. It should be a resource for people to learn. It should be a place where an adult can go to maybe take an online course that doesn't have internet access, to download e-books, and other things, you know, white papers. The library does a great job working with the school department and the after-school programs. Some of the mentoring programs that they have is a great thing. But I believe that we can do a lot more with the library. And we're at a turning point now. We've basically been just limping along for a lot of years with the library, and they've been doing a great job in a building that really, with things the way they are now in technology and, again, communications, that we're behind the 8 ball. So I would support that in any way I could. If it's funded through the budget, we need to fight for the budget, make realistic numbers available to the Finance Committee and town meeting so that it can be funded.
John?
Well, Mark, as you well know, the library was brought before a town meeting on a petitioned article to redo that building. And while many of the changes are needed, they certainly have had changes, as Mr. McCrisky indicated, with technology and so forth. And the library does offer more than just a place to go to read books. However, I did not support the way they brought that to town meeting, because the way that is being funded, and the town meeting votes to do so, is through the operational budget. So that $14 million, which has to be pledged, even though it was with the caveat that we have the 50% payback from the building, putting that $7 million in your operating budget, I did not believe was the way to fund it. And that's how the town voted for it. So that doesn't go to the voters, that doesn't go to anyone else. That's how it was voted at town meeting. I just don't think that was the way to fund the building.
I agree with the library also, but I also agree, if we could, and I don't know if it can be done, if we either renovate the high school or build a new high school, put it with the high school. Depending how big the building's going to be, 2 or 3 stories just for the public library, and 2 or 3 other stories just for the kids themselves, So only the kids can get into that part of the library, and the rest downstairs. So then just sell that building, let the town have revenue to pay for other things. Thank you.
I'm going to have you folks move down your chairs. My chair's out of the way, because I guess toward the end there you're in the dark. So I'm going to move everybody over. I look better in the dark, but we want to have you guys in the light. Okay. Question number 3. This one goes to John first. What town boards and committees have you served on? And talk a little bit about the work you've done for each, and what was your attendance record on them?
Well, I've served on, as a town meeting rep since 2007 in Precinct 4. I have served as selectman for the past 6 years. I am part of the Water Commissioner Subcommittee since I joined the selectmen. I have been the liaison to the Brickstone Advisory Committee to the board, as well as the Energy and Sustainability Committee, the Energy and Sustainability Committee Advisory Board to the Board of Selectmen. I've worked with them now for a few years. I've missed very few meetings. There's been some vacations I've been gone, and a couple of family emergencies that have called me away, but I do tend to participate in meetings, and I put in the time and effort that's needed, I believe, to get the job done.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm part of the event committee. I've been on it for a year. I've missed one meeting, and that was last week because we were holding signs in the center. Plan to go to every meeting. I'm out there now. I go to the selectmen meeting, I go to the school committee meetings, I go to the master plan meetings, and elected, I will try to go to every single meeting that the town offers to reflect the town. Thank you.
Joe?
Well, I was first elected to town meeting, I believe, 1986, and served on the finance committee about 3 years, a year after I got elected, served on the finance committee 3 years. Was elected selectman in 1992 for the first time, and I've done different terms on the Board of Selectmen. Served on the Redevelopment Authority 3 years, with 2 being as chairman, where we basically brought the Redevelopment Authority into working with the town boards, Board of Selectmen, zoning board, and planning board, and we're very instrumental in getting the town to have less of an impact on the creation of IKEA and Target through making sure the traffic plans were in the town's best interest, so the residents didn't get stuck footing the bill for roads. Town meeting, I did serve a term in town meeting, and I know some people have approached me because I had a less than stellar attendance record my second year, a couple years ago. I serve as a commercial vehicle consultant, and the busiest time for me is basically like a tax season. It comes into February to June. And so I decided at the time to resign from town meeting so somebody else could run. But for whatever reason, a letter wasn't acted on at town hall, or something happened, there was a hole in the system. But so it's not something, but you do the best you can. As a selectman, I think I've made a lot of accomplishments to show that when I show up at a meeting, and I do show up at meetings, that I have some impact, and we've got a lot of great things done. So I look forward to being on the Board of Selectmen, contributing to the board, working with other town departments to make a difference.
John?
That's what I did.
Okay.
That wouldn't be fair to give me another line.
Well, you could. You could get a hold. I'm holding. Why did I have that on? Okay. The next question we have is going to Joe first. Do you support single stream recycling, and do you think the town should implement it?
Well, that would be a single question, a single answer. Is that every time we've looked at doing recycling, it's always been an impact to the budget. It was costing money to recycle. Simple as that. As much as you want to do what's right for the environment, it ends up being cost prohibitive sometimes. So I haven't seen the information. I believe that anything that we can do to limit the amount of recyclables that go into the trash stream, it's definitely good for the environment. As a lot of folks know, we're a partner with the CMAS, a Covanta partnership, which keep us at a lower rate than almost every municipality around. We save a lot of money. If it's a savings for the town, I believe that we should do it immediately, but again, we need to do the research to find out, is it a cost savings or not? And how can we limit it? We have our transfer station, one of the few towns that has one. It might be an avenue where we can take that and have our recyclables go to that entity where they collect our recyclables, white goods, trees, and things like that for free as a part of that recycling building. We implemented that when we gave them the permitting, so that, again, that's not an impact to the tax base. So it might be something we can do there, that we take the recyclables, bring them to that entity, and transfer them. It may cost, save us money in that way. But I'd be open to the idea. I think it's something we need to look at.
In the 6 years that I have been on the board, we have asked the Superintendent of Public Works to revisit this each year, take a look and see what it would cost and what the impact would be on the town. And to date, we have not made that point to be less costly for the town. So at this point, we have not done it. If we could do it in a profitable way or a non-costly way to the residents, then you would certainly have to look at that. And there are various ways you can do that. But we do have the superintendent look at that each year. We've asked him to at least consider that and go through it and report back to the board.
Thank you.
I agree, both John and Joe. I like recycling and all that, but it's going to cost the town, taxpayers, taxpayers, thousands of dollars. I'm not paid for that part. But we do have a recycle program now, and like I said, I talked to the superintendent. If there's ways feasible for us, so be it.
I wanted to also mention that people in the audience, if you have a question that you want to ask, you can go to Terry and right away, okay, right to the front here to, you can go to Mary Lou and give her your question, and we can try to put that in here too. So, especially for the selectmen right now, because we have a couple of questions left, and if you'd like to ask one of yours, that's fine. Also, I wanted to introduce a couple of people that are here today. And we have Selectman Cynthia Walsh here. I want to welcome her. And also Erna Burrell from the school committees here, as well as my mom, who actually made a guest appearance. Joyce Husseini, you didn't see you. Okay, Joyce Husseini from the school committee as well. Okay, my mom's not wearing her sunglasses, so I should have even introduced her. Okay, next question. This one over here goes to, let's see, John Anzavino. How satisfied are you with the town's website? How could it be improved to do better service for our residents?
Well, the website, I think, has improved some over the 6 years that I've been as a selectman. If you compare that to some of the various towns that you see out there, it's not as user-friendly as it could be, and it's not as workable. It just doesn't provide the necessary items that are out there on a lot of these other town websites. There should be every form, every application, anything that you need for town hall should be easily accessible from the website, and it should be easy to navigate on that website. Now, I know they've been looking at it, they've been working on it. As I say, it has improved, I think, quite a bit, both visually and in use. Over the past 6 years, they have done some work on it, but definitely needs more work to get it to be an easier way to navigate it, and more information provided to the residents and the builders and contractors that need to use the town services. Hopefully we can get there.
Spanky?
I agree with John. Definitely has to be fixed. As a member of the event committee, probably a couple months back now, the Board of Selectmen didn't know we existed. But right on the website, you can punch in community events, that tell all the volunteers and the members. So it does definitely have to be fixed. Hopefully we can get it fixed.
Joe?
This goes back, Mark, to what I mentioned earlier, is that, there's a good group of people here, but there's a lot more people that are at home, that are not activists, that don't serve on boards and commissions. And with technology the way it is, everybody has a smartphone now, a tablet, or computer access. And when you get to our website, it basically just exists. I think it's an embarrassment for what's available. High school kids can build websites that are unbelievable, but yet we have one that we can't navigate. And when you know what you're looking for, you can't find it. This has been my problem right along, is that the issues that are important to the average taxpayer, who's not a town meeting rep, who's not a board or commission member, who doesn't collect a salary from the town, they're not getting the service I believe that we are capable of giving them. And this is just one small window into that. But there's a lot we can do. I mean, some of these kids at the schools today, the technology that they know, I guarantee you can get a couple of these kids and give them a small fee and build a website that's going to be user-friendly. Download forms, show a process. Our website does not give a developer who may be on the North Shore access to see how close we are to the highways. That we have, the Reebok former office building has been sitting vacant for a couple of years. Nobody knows that unless we go after it. That's a part I believe that we should be doing as well, working with the redevelopment authority to attract that. We started a few years ago, and we need to re-energize that.
Okay, we have our last question from Printer Gabriel. When you get a chance, bring those questions up to me. This is our last one. This one goes to Frankie first. We're assuming now that the South Coastal Rail is going to cut through Stoughton. What mitigation would you look for the town from the state?
First and foremost, safety of the public. There'll be a lot of crossings. I would love to see it go underground. I don't want to see people lose their backyards. They will lose their backyards in every domain. We come to Stoughton, have a nice, beautiful little town, and to lose all this from the train, let's work with them. I know the town's putting countersuits against the state. We're not going to work with the state. Work with them, get the best bang for our buck, and do what's right for the people.
Joe?
Well, I agree. We've dug in, we took the route of saying no, no, no. That hasn't helped us very much. We're at a point as well, and I applaud Senator Brian Joyce for putting money into the state's budget to look at the depression of that section of the rail. So basically, we've cut the town in half. Anyone who's gone through the intersection, through the square, the intersection of School and Canton Street, and you see the train crew gets backed out on Canton Street, and it has an effect on other areas. This is going to cut the town in half. On the other hand, having it go through the town is also going to open up some downtown. We won't have all this traffic that comes into town. It doesn't benefit the town of Stoughton. People come in to take the train, they mess the center of town up, they add to it, and they do not spend a penny a year. So there is a small benefit to that going through with a station in Easton and down south. But we've got to limit what happens to the town of Stoughton. As David mentioned, there are some people, there's probably a house or two right off the bat that are going to be gone when this is built. We have to limit the impact. What we have to do is stop the infighting that goes on in Stoughton and people calling each other names when they disagree, and we've got to start to work together. This is the time to get that done. They did it down the Greenbush line. They protected some neighborhoods. They went under a town. If they can do it down there with the historic value, they can sure as heck do it in Stoughton. Now, we've got to work together to get our state senator, our 2 state representatives, and our boards and commissions, all of the boards and commissions, working with our town manager to make sure that this thing is done where it limits the impact on the town.
Well, Mike, as far as the South Coast Rail, until they made it definitive this was the #1 route that they wanted to take, we were and had made the statement, and at town meeting they passed a resolution in 2009 that we would oppose this project as it was presented. The current proposal is for a surface track electric, which we are adamantly opposed to. The selectmen have made it clear. I did, through our representative, got a meeting with the Secretary of Transportation, Richard Davey. He came out to the town along with the project manager. We had staff there. Both our representatives and our senator came out. And we actually gave them an alternative to their proposal going through the town, which requested that they depress the line somewhere north of Central Street, and that it would not come back to the surface until somewhere south of Brock. And we gave them a little bit of an option for the downtown to actually move the station to where the current police station is, with a garage that would take 810 cars, I believe it was. And we would partner with them on that. That was a proposal we made to them. They have taken it under advisement. They are looking at it, and we'll see where that goes. But we had to file a lawsuit because had we not filed the lawsuit, we would have given up our place at the table for this project as it goes forward. Thank you.
I already talked to train, yeah. That was the first one.
That we have this long trip. Okay, next. We have 2 questions from the audience we'll ask, and then we'll finish up with the closing statements, which will start this way or that way. Okay. This one goes to Joe first. Town meeting will vote on the use of the armory. What would you, as a selectman, do? What do you recommend for the building?
If they would vote on that, depending on funding, it would be a good building. There's a lot of talk about taking the armory down, and you know what kills me is that whenever we talk about building a Stoughton, we always talk about building from the ground up. Everything has to be the ground up. You know, with that comes a lot more money. I would challenge anyone to make an appointment to look at the armory. The outside buildings are in deplorable condition, would have to be totally destroyed. But the building was meant to house tanks. It had an armory. The floor, I'm told, is almost 6 feet thick. If you look at the interior of the main building, the big triangular roof, the woodwork inside is beautiful. There's wooden beams in there that are unbelievable. The building is structurally sound, but needs a total interior renovation. There's asbestos in the building, again, the outside building, but that would be good for a substation of both the fire and police. With something that we need to start looking, that's where the development is going to happen, in that section of town. There's a way to put together a community impact fee where additional businesses coming in would pay an additional fee when they come in to do business with town that would be used to fund that building. So there's a lot we can do with the building. I think that's something that definitely needs to be studied. Make sure that there are people, again, I would like to have the redevelopment authority involved, because they can add something that, you know, some of the other boards and commissions can't. They have a funding source, and that's what that funding source will be used for. So I would definitely support the use of the armory.
John?
Well, Mike, we are looking to have a feasibility study done for the armory and what uses it may be able to provide. And I can tell you one of the things we are looking at is the possibility of opening up some space at Town Hall by moving the recreation department down there, which would give us more office space at Town Hall, which is needed at this time. And if we move the recreation department down there, we would also be looking to maybe create a community center as well. That's one of the options. So we are looking to see what we might be able to have as a best use. That might be one that we could follow. It is a beautiful building inside. The lack of care over the years since it was given to us has really destroyed the outer edges, the outer offices, just from lack of maintenance to them. But I would have to see from a professional that building would be better off coming down. I know that word is going around, but I would have to see that proven to me that we cannot renovate that building. I know when SMAC was actually looking for a new place to build, that was something they had gone in, they had studies done, and they did turn that over to the town. So we certainly are aware of what's in the building. Like I said, if we could get a recreation department down there with a community center, I think that would be a great addition to the town.
Spanky?
I'm in that building a lot of our event committees, toys and games are stored there. The building is solid, people. It does leak, it needs a roof. I'd love to see a substation. If you're looking at the building from the street to the left, put a double bay, 3 bays for a fire station. Someday, hopefully, smack go there, the recreation department, there's plenty of room. Put a lot of things in there. Open it up to schools, the rec department, people who want to rent for a theater play or anything. It's a beautiful building. The biggest thing is the town doesn't maintain nothing. Their maintenance schedule is a disgrace to all our buildings. That's why we're in the problems we have now. When the building was given to us, years ago we were involved with the Toys for Tots program, when the Armory was effective, it's a beautiful, solid building. But once again, it's the maintenance. Let's get on the maintenance, fix the building, put a new roof on it, put new plumbing, heat, electricity, get rid of the asbestos shingles, put a new boiler system in, and you'll have a beautiful building.
Okay, I have on my hand the last question from the audience. This one goes to you, John, first. What plan do you have to make Stoughton more inviting to prospective homeowners in regards to all the 40Bs, it looks like the eroding of our schools, overcrowding, I'm sorry, the overcrowding of schools, and the appearance of the center and vacant buildings? John?
Well, as you're aware, we are in the process of going through a master plan, which a big focus on that is what we might be able to do with downtown and how we can redevelop it. That is something that obviously has a lot to do with what might be coming through with the train. That's going to affect how we can do that. In fact, we have asked for that rail to be depressed, whether the South Coast Rail comes through or not. As far as you say 40B, right now we are sitting at a safe harbor at 11.25%. We do monitor that. I deal directly with town council in monitoring our subsidized housing inventory, because we do have units that would be falling off and so forth. One of the reasons I support the presidential court renovation is to be able to keep those 104 or 105 units on our account. I constantly deal with town council on that, to monitor that, to make sure that we don't get caught by surprise with those items. We do have to get the downtown renovated. I don't believe that schools are actually overcrowded, not to my knowledge anyway, but we certainly have to improve the buildings that we have for the students to be in and have a good environment to learn.
When I first got elected to the Board of Selectmen in 1992, I talked about downtown renovation, make it a little nicer to look at. Let's get started, let's show people are serious about it. And we did that. We put some flower pots in, we put some benches around, we cleaned up an area, we realigned some of the parking, and we got it done with no cost to the taxpayers. It was volunteer work, volunteer funds, and we got something done. We can do something with downtown now. To me, I refer to it with planning, where you do all these plans, but it's like planning on what color you're going to paint your car when it's done, but the engine still isn't in it. And that's what we have now. We have the biggest piece of commercial property, office buildings sitting vacant. We need to start to work with the redevelopment authority. That's what they are, redevelopment. Let's get them more actively involved. Let's let them be the leader. They're elected by the residents of town. They have the funds. They have the talent, of course. And let's utilize that. Unless we talk with each other and bring these, have little summits with what these other boards and commissions can do and how we can empower some of the other boards and commissions, we're going to spin our wheels. When it comes to attracting, again, the website, we need to do more to market our community. Tell people how great we are. We're minutes from every major route there is in Boston. The commuter rail is somewhat of a value when you talk about commuting to the city of Boston. That's a benefit. And we look at our police department. You will hear me over and over say how proud I am of the men and women of the police department that is serving as a role model and as a leader in law enforcement in Massachusetts now. These are the things that are going to help us attract more people, younger families who want to invest in our town.
Spanky?
I'd like to see more affordable single-family homes across from the Hanson School. I want to see more single-family homes to bring in families. Be pro-business. This town was not pro-business. My father owned a business here 30 years ago, the old Stoughton Diner. I know the old people know the diner, the new people know. It's where the chain do is now. The center is the center. Can we improve it? Absolutely. But everybody wants to be like Dover. They want to be like Newton. They want to be like Needham. You know what? We are Stoughton. I am Stoughton proud. Let's be a leader. Let's be Stoughton, not be anybody in this town. Let's make our own town for ourselves.
Okay. It's time for the 60-second closings, as I mentioned before. We're going to go in opposite order, from right to left. John, you begin.
My name is John Anzavino. I've served on the Board of Selectmen for the past 6 years, the last year as its chair. I believe in the 6 years that I have been on the board, this town has made great strides in going forward, improving its image, and moving towards the future. We have professional staff working to try and reorganize and make this town government more efficient and easier to use by all, residents, developers, all. We are trying to be fiscally responsible to get a plan in place that would allow us to plan ahead, know what our costs are going to be, and move forward in that direction. I believe that we've come a long way since I've been on this board, and I ask you for your support on April 8th by casting one of your votes for me as selectman. Thank you. And I thank the board, the league and the chamber for inviting us in today to have this opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Joe?
Thank you, Mark. Thank you as well to the league and everybody who made today possible. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Joe McCrisky. I've served 12 years on and off the Board of Selectmen with the thought that you should always make a difference, always be able to show results. I'm the dad of 2 boys, Michael, 26, a Navy reservist, and my son Brian, 22, who will graduate from Fort Leonard Wood MP school in 2 weeks. Looking forward to that happening as well. Proud of my boys, the air I breathe. I believe that my years on the Board of Selectmen, I have delivered results. Every year I've been on, I've told people I would deliver results, and we have. And I'm looking forward to, with your vote, to work hard to make Stoughton better, to bring new business to town. You'll see in the advertising coming up from the board's candidates, our residential tax rate, or rather, new growth has gone up, which is great. That means people are moving to Stoughton. That's what we want. But unfortunately, our commercial new growth has remained flat. Take a look at downtown. I talked a little bit, I think you know my ideas already on, we're going to make a difference. And with your vote, I promise you, we will see results. Thank you.
Spanky?
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody at home, everybody in the audience. My name is David Souza. A lot of the people know me as Spanky. Born and raised in this town. My father owned the old Stoughton Diner. I married a Stoughton girl. My wife Maria, right in the front audience here. I have 2 kids in the school system. I am new at this compared to my 2 competitors next to me. I'm the new guy, right? The future of this town, I look through a different lens. I said, give me the chance. I'm result-oriented. I strive to do the best for this town. Thank you.
So I want to remind everybody that this debate of the community forum that we're doing here will be on television, on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 28. And if you want to find out when it's airing, you can go to StoughtonTV.com, go to SnyderStoughton.com, or read the column in the Journal of the answer. Thank you all for your selectmen. I'd also want to congratulate everybody that came here today as well. Thank you for your civic interest